Okay. Solid base. It's interesting. I have to shut this off by the mouse or the trackpad when it says "got it" on the thing. But
Yeah.
if I hit enter, it doesn't work. Most times, the kind of thing will work.
That's annoying. Yeah. Okay.
Not a big deal. Okay. In this matter too, Jerusalem was superior to Yavne in that any town which could see Yerushalayim and could hear and is near to Yerushalayim and can come to Yerushalayim on the Sabbath may blow the shofar on the Sabbath. But in Yavne, they blew only before the Beis Din. Yavne is pretty far away from Yerushalayim.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, sure it is. Well, but they're talking about them as two separate cases. Where Yerushalayim, all the environs of Yerushalayim also blew shofar. Where in Yavne, they only blew it indoors.
Indoors. Originally, the lulav was taken in the temple all 7 days of Sukkot, and in the province, the lulav was taken only 1 day. After the temple was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted the lulav be taken in the provinces for 7 days in remembrance of the temple, and that the entire day of waving the Omer should be forbidden. Originally, they accepted testimony regarding the new moon all day. Once the witnesses were delayed in arriving, and the Levium blended in the daily hymn, so they ordained that they accept the new moon testimony only until the mincha, and that, and that the witnesses come before the mincha onward, that day should be kept holy, and the next day should be kept holy. If the temple was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted they accept new moon testimony all day. But Yeshua ben Karcha said this too did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai institute, that even if the head of the Beis Din should be in another place, the witness should go only to the place of the assembly.
Okay. Seder brachos. Okay, so now we're talking about the davening on Rosh Hashana during the Musaf. Okay, and we've got two opinions on how the brachos should be structured. So first, we see the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. He says, "Omer avos u'gvuros u'kedushas Hashem." So the regular first three brachas, but so he says the third bracha, the kedushas Hashem, is going to include Malchios inside with them, right? All the psukim that we have of Malchios. Since the bracha is Hamelech HaKadosh, this is talking about Malchios, so it all kind of makes sense that it should go into the Malchios section. But Einot Tokea, and we don't blow shofar after that section. Then you have Kedushas Hayom, that's Mekadesh Yisrael, Mekadesh Yom HaZikaron. Okay, V'Tokea, and that is when we blow shofar. Zichronos, and the psukim relating to the Zichronos and V'Tokea, Shofaros V'Tokea, and then all the psukim relating to the shofar, and he blows shofar there. V'Omer Avoda V'Hoda U'Birkas Kohanim, and then of course the regular finishing of Ritzei, Modim, and Birkas Kohanim Sim Shalom. Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So that's his opinion. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva. He says, "Im eino tokeh lemalchios lama hu mazkir." The whole thing, he says, the new all these psukim that we have, these 10 psukim that we have for each section of the Amidah, each one should be invoking a shofar. So why you put if you're not bothering to blow after saying the malchios, then why are you saying them at all? Ela omer avos gvuros kedushas Hashem. Okay, and then so the first three brachas as normal. I mean, I don't know what he held about all the other. You know, we do add a little bit extra into Hamelech HaKadosh with right. Okay, we call them Malchios in Kedushas Hayom, but the Malchios comes after all of the sanctifying the day and reading into the psukim of Rosh Hashana. And then you start with the psukim of Malchios, Aleinu, and all of those other sections. V'Tokea, and then he blows shofar. Zichronos v'Tokea, shofaros v'Tokea, V'Omer Avoda V'Hoda U'Birkas Kohanim. So the only argument between them is where the Malchios go. And we follow Rabbi Akiva, of course, that the Malchios go in the section after Kedushas Hashem. So not after Kedushas Hashem, after Kedushas Hayom. Okay, Mishna Vav. Ein pochasin me'eser malchios me'asera zichronos me'asra shofaros. So when you're saying the Amidah, you have to have a minimum of 10 psukim for each section, Malchios, Zichronos, and Shofaros. Okay, where you're taking what's in between the lines over here. Basically, it seems like this Mishnah is before we had a fixed machzor of what goes into it. So it seems like there was a lot more latitude for people to decide what they were going to include in these psukim. And you'll see.
Look, ahead. It seems that the first part they're talking about the 10, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nori says that the 3 is enough. That must be Rabbi Akiva then, saying the 10. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be only Rabbi Akiva. It could just, and it's just a consensus opinion, which is where Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is dissenting and saying, no, b'diavad, he agrees that lechatchila you should be saying 10, but b'diavad, if you only said 3 psukim for each one, and one pasuk from Chumash, one pasuk from Nevi'im, one pasuk from Tehillim, that's sufficient. That's sufficient.
All right.
Okay. And mazkirin zichron malchus v'shofar shel puranos, and also you shouldn't choose the psukim that have bad connotations. For example, Gati quotes a few psukim that are not so pleasant. Im lo biyad chazakav zra natiyav v'chema shefuchaim lo chalechem. Quoting from Echezkel. So yeah, okay, that's yad chazakav zra natiyav. Malchios, that would be Malchios talking about it. But this is it's a very negative kind of domineering kind of Malchios, which is not the kind that we want to have mentioned. Or Vayizkor ki basar hema, for example, in Zichronos, in Tehillim, which is again has the sort of negative connotations. It's like remembering, oh my gosh, they're such a never. So have okay. So that shofar that we're talking about in Hosea is also talking about trouble coming to the people. So the commentaries say that never mind. Okay, sorry, I'll leave out that point. But basically, it seems like at the time of the Mishnah, there was a lot more latitude given for choosing which psukim to include in all of these things over here. Maschil b'Torah or mashlim b'Navi. You start with psukim from Torah, then you follow it with Tehillim, and then you finish with Navi. Rabbi Yossi Omer im hishlim b'Torah yatsa. So he says, no, actually, if you bookend it with Torah psukim, that's also okay. And as a matter of fact, that is what we do. That's the nusach hatchila, is that we start with psukim from the Torah, three from the Torah, 3 from Tehillim, 3 from Nevi'im, and then bookend it with another pasuk from the Torah. Okay, and that got fixed into the machzor, and so this Mishnah is really of very little import to us because we just do what it says in the machzor.
Was this final version set up by the Anshe Gedola? Were they set up? That's who set it up, or?
Difficult to say that because the Anshe Knesset Gedola preceded the Mishnah, and if they had set it up, then the Mishnah wouldn't
have this right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Rosh Hashana. So the Shaliach Tzibur on Rosh Hashana, Hasheni Maskia. It's the second Shaliach Tzibur who blows the shofar. Now you think about it, and just take a step back, and we're used to that. So obviously, yeah, we blow the shofar during Musaf. But if you take a step back and think about it, you think, why? Everything else that we do, we know is Zuzim Makdim and Lemitzvahs. If you have an opportunity to blow shofar during Shachris, why shouldn't you blow during Shachris? That would be the more logical thing to do. Elamai, it seems like they had that used to be their practice. But during the Roman occupation, they once apparently had a close call, where the Romans heard them blowing shofar in the shul in the morning, and they thought that they were organizing a revolt. So, it doesn't say that there were any like seriously negative consequences from it, but they said, you know something, that was a close one. Let's blow shofar during Musaf rather, because then the Romans see that Jews are all gathering in the shuls, they're davening, it must be one of their holy days, and then later in the day, okay, so they're blowing shofar, they see, okay, it's a ritual thing they're doing. They're not organizing armies against us, and so that is what stuck. That's how the minhag stuck, actually, of doing shofar during Musaf rather than during Shachris. So on a Yom Tov or Rosh Chodesh or whenever it is that you're saying a Hallel, the Hallel belongs to Shachris. So right after Shachris we go into Hallel. As you see, so we see that Zrizim Makdim and mitzvahs. When there's a mitzvah to do something, we try and do it as early as possible. And shofar is a standout because it's only done during Musaf.
Where are we going after Rosh Hashana, by the way?
Tanis.
Tanis, okay. Okay. Aleph of?
Aleph Zion.
Zion?
Yeah, Aleph Zion.
A father and his son who saw the new moon should go to Bezdin, but that not that they can be paired together as witnesses, but so that if one of them is disqualified, the second may be paired with another. Reb Shimon says a father and a son and all relatives are eligible for the testimony about the new moon. Reb Yossi says it happened that Tuvia, the physician, saw the new moon in Yerushalayim. He, his son, and his freed slave, and all the Kohanim accepted him and his son and disqualified his slave. But when they came before the Bezdin, they accepted him and his slave and disqualified his son. The following are ineligible as witnesses: a dice player, insurers, pigeon flyers, dealers, and 70 produce and slaves. This is the rule. Any testimony for which a woman is ineligible, they too are ineligible for it. If a person saw the new moon but cannot walk, they may bring him on a donkey, and even on a bed. And if an ambush awaits them, they may arm themselves with sticks, and if it was a distant journey, they may take food in their hands. Since for a journey of a night and a day, they may desecrate Shabbos and go forth to render testimony about the new moon. As it is said, these are the appointed times of Hashem, which you shall declare in their fixed time. If they do not,
okay,
that was 3?
Yeah, that was 3.
Okay. All right. On to Sukkah. Okay. Base Aleph. One who sleeps under a bed in the Sukkah does not fulfill his obligation. Reb Yehuda recounted, it was our custom to sleep under the bed in the presence of our elders, and they raised no objection. Reb Shimon said it happened that Tavi, the slave of Rabbi Gamliel, would sleep under the bed. And Rabbi Gamliel said to the elders, you have observed that Tavi, my slave, is a learned scholar who knows that slaves are exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. Hence, he sleeps under the bed. And we learned incidentally that one who sleeps under a bed has not fulfilled his obligation. If someone supported a sukkah with the legs of a bed, it is valid. Reb Yehuda says if he cannot stand by itself, it is invalid. A sukkah is in disarray, or one that has more shade than sun is valid. If thickly covered like a house, even though the stars are not visible from within, it is valid. And if one erects a sukkah on top of a wagon or on the deck of a ship, it is valid, and one may enter it on a festival. On a treetop or on the back of a camel is valid, but one may not go up onto it up into it on the festival day. The two were formed by a tree and one was man-made. Or else two were man-made and one formed by a tree, it is valid, but one may not go up into it on the festival day, and one may enter it on the festival day. This is the rule wherever if the tree was removed, it would have remained standing by itself. It is valid, and one may go up onto it on the festival day. If one built a sukkah between
3.
No.
Yeah.
I started with base though, didn't I?
That was Aleph.
You're right. Again. Okay.
Erevin.
I just
Erevin Heydalad.
like to keep going, that's all. Hey, Dalit. We may not measure except for a 50 amot rope, whether shorter or longer. We may not measure except with the rope opposite his heart. And if he was measuring and reached a valley or a mound, he should span it and return his measuring. If he reached the mountain, he should span it and return to his measuring, provided he does not go out of the tchum. If he is unable to span it, regarding this, Reb Doste Ben Yanai stated in Reb Meir's name, I have heard that we pierce mountains.
In other words, piercing the mountains, that was that technique of going up and
Right.
with one standing low, one standing higher, and holding the rope horizontal, and then sort of carrying on.
We had that diagram of them on the three of them.
Yeah.
We may accept measurements except from an expert. If he extended the chum at one point and shortened it at another, the extended chum is followed. If one extended it while another shortened it, the one who extended it is followed. If a man slave, even a female slave, is believed to say, until here is the Sabbath Chum, for the sages did not state this law to be stringent, but rather to be lenient. If a town of an individual became public property, we may make an erev in its entirety, but if a public town became an individual's, we may not make it an erev for its entirety, unless we exclude the area from it equivalent to the town of Hadasha in Judea, which has 50 inhabitants. These are the words of Reb Yehuda. Reb Shimon says the 3 courtyards containing 2 dwellings. Okay. What may not give the poor from the threshing floor less than half a kav of wheat and a kav of barley? Reb Meir says half.
We are
Mishnah,
in Vav, Mishna Vav.
right. Okay. This measure applies to the priests, Levites, and Israelites. If he wants to save, he takes half and gives half. If he had a small quantity, he places it before them and they divide it among themselves. They do not give a poor person who wanders from place to place less than a loaf worth of a pinion when 4 sods cost a selah. If he stays overnight, they give him a night's outfit. If he stays over the Shabbat, they give him food for 3 meals. He who has food for 2 meals may not take from the tamcha. Food for 14 meals, he may not take from the kupa. And the kupa is collected by 2 and distributed by 3. He who possesses 200 zuz may not take leket, shikacha, peah, or masa'ani. If he had 200 less 1, then even 1,000 give him together. He may take. If they were mortgaged to his creditor or to his wife's ketubah, he may take. They do not compel him to sell his house and his utensils.
Okay.
Caleb. Hey, babe. A stove is a stove. Its beginning is 3 finger breadths, and its remnants are 3 finger breadths. From the time its manufacture is completed, when it is considered the completion of its manufacturer, then one heats it enough to cook on the most easily cooked egg, which has been beaten and put into a stew pot. A kupak, if one made it for baking, is a measure that is that of an oven. If one made it for cooking, its measure is that of a stove. A stone that juts out, is that right? Yeah. A stove that juts out of 1 handbreadth from an oven, or 3 finger breadths from a stove, is a connection. A stove that juts out of a kupak, if one made it for baking, its measure is that of an oven. If one made it for cooking, its measure is that of a stove. And Rabbi Yehuda said they only said 1 handbreadth between the oven and the wall. If 2 ovens were adjacent to each other and 1 handbreadth is allotted to one oven and 1 handbreadth to the other oven, and the remainder is tahor. The rim of a stove is tahor, and the enclosure of an oven, when it is 4 handbreadths high and contracts tumah via contact and airspace. But less than this is tahor. If it was connected to the oven, even on 3 stones, it is tameh. The flask receptacle and the spice receptacle and the lamp receptacle of a stove contract tumah via contact, but do not contract tumah via airspace. These are the words of Reb Meir, and Reb Mishael rules them tahor. An oven that was heated from the outside, or that was heated without his intent, or that was heated in the artisan's workshop is tameh. It happened once that a fire broke out among the ovens at Kifar Signah, and the case came to the Ravna, and the rabbi ruled the coven, the ovens Tameh.
Oh.
Okay. And Basibas. Dollar Gimel. One who sells a house has sold the door, but not the key. He has sold the fixed mortar, but not the portable. He has sold the pedestal of the mill, but not the flour catch, nor the oven, nor the stove. When he said to him, it is it and all that is in it, they are all sold. One who sells a courtyard has sold the houses, pits, ditches, and vaults, but not the movables. When he said to them, it and all that is in it, they are all sold. In any case, he has not sold the bathhouse or the olive press, which is in it. And Reb Eliezer says, one who sells a courtyard has sold only the airspace of the courtyard. One who sells an olive press has sold the grinding block, the millstone, and the post, but he has not sold the boards, the screws, or the beam. When he said to him, it and all that is in it, they are all sold. Reb Eliezer says, one who sells an olive press has sold the beam.
Ad can.
Right. And thank you very much. Tomorrow we start Hashana. You don't know what you're gonna do tomorrow, whether you're gonna go late or early. So
Yeah.
yes, okay. Have a great day.
You too.
Enjoy. Thank
Cheers.
you.